Are Ethiopia and Eritrea on the brink of a conflict that could reshape the entire Horn of Africa? Beneath the surface, tensions are rising. Military movements, diplomatic deadlock, and intensifying disputes over the Red Sea. To understand how we arrived at this point, we must look back 6 years to the pivotal moment when Ethiopia's new prime minister took office, setting off a chain of events that would change the region forever. What triggered this complex crisis? Why does it matter today? And just how close are we to a potential war? Stay tuned as we delve into the hidden dynamics of one of East Africa's most pressing and dangerous geopolitical standoffs. Ethiopia and Eritrea were in a state of no peace, no war following the 1998 conflict, which claimed the lives of around 100,000 soldiers. After the war, there was no communication between the two countries. When the Ethiopian Prime Minister came to power in 2018, he sought to normalize relations between Ethiopia and Eritrea. By July 2018, Abiy and Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki met in Asmara and agreed to restore diplomatic relations, reopen embassies, and resume flights. This peace process was further solidified in September 2018 with the Jeddah Peace Agreement, backed by the UN and the African Union. Beyond normalizing relations, Abiy's government has also emphasized Ethiopia's strategic need for direct access to the Red Sea, including through Eritrea's Assab port. Since Ethiopia became landlocked after Eritrea's independence in 1993, it has relied heavily on Djibouti for trade, but Assab remains geographically closer to Ethiopia's northern and central regions. While Abiy has not openly demanded control over Assab, there has been speculation about possible economic cooperation or leasing arrangements. However, Eritrea has remained cautious, with President Isaias Afwerki showing no clear willingness to grant Ethiopia access. Despite improved diplomatic ties, no formal agreement has been reached, and Ethiopia continues to rely on alternative ports such as Djibouti, Berbera, Somaliland, and Lamu, Kenya, while keeping an eye on future possibilities regarding Assab. So, why is Ethiopia claiming Assab? Historically, Ethiopia held and used the port until Eritrea gained independence. Additionally, with a population of over 130 million, being landlocked is a significant disadvantage for Ethiopia, making Assab an essential asset. As a result, many Ethiopians strongly desire access to the port. After Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came to power in 2018, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, which had dominated Ethiopian politics for many years, began to strongly oppose him. Tensions escalated when the federal government postponed national elections, while the Tigray region, led by the TPLF, held its own election in defiance. In response, the government in Addis Ababa cut off federal budget allocations to Tigray, further heightening tensions. Both sides began preparing for a conflict that many feared was inevitable. That fear became reality in November 2020, when the TPLF attacked a federal military base in northern Ethiopia, marking the start of a brutal and bloody war. To understand the deeper roots of this conflict, we must look back to the past. Between 1998 and 2000, Ethiopia and Eritrea fought a deadly war, with the TPLF still in power at the time. During this period, Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki became a strong enemy of the TPLF. So, when the new war broke out in 2020, Eritrea allied with the Ethiopian government and sent its forces into Tigray. Eritrean soldiers were accused of committing severe atrocities, with some experts even labeling it as genocide. After 2 years of devastating fighting, more than 300,000 soldiers had died, and over 500,000 civilians lost their lives. The immense destruction eventually led the TPLF and the federal government to begin peace talks. However, despite these efforts, President Isaias Afwerki remained focused on one goal: the complete eradication of the TPLF. The Pretoria Peace Agreement, signed on November 2, 2022, marked a pivotal moment in the conflict between Ethiopia's federal government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, effectively ending a devastating two-year war that claimed an estimated 600,000 lives. Eritrea, which had been an ally of Ethiopia during the conflict, was notably absent from the negotiations and the subsequent agreement. This exclusion led to a cooling of relations between Asmara and Addis Ababa, as Eritrea felt sidelined despite its significant involvement in the war. The strained relations became more evident when Ethiopian Airlines suspended flights to Eritrea in September 2024, citing very difficult operating conditions. Diplomats interpreted this move as a sign of deteriorating ties between the two nations, reversing the progress made since their 2018 peace agreement. Complicating matters further, Ethiopia's renewed interest in securing access to the Red Sea, particularly through the Eritrean port city of Assab, has heightened tensions. Eritrea has dismissed these aspirations, labeling them as excessive. This geopolitical friction has raised concerns about the potential for renewed conflict, especially with reports of military mobilizations along the border. Eritrea has expressed strong opposition to Ethiopia's recent maritime ambitions, particularly regarding access to the Red Sea. Eritrean Foreign Minister Osman Saleh described Ethiopia's aspirations as misguided and outdated, urging the international community to press Ethiopia to respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of its neighbors. This development has further strained relations between the two countries, which had been allies during the conflict in Ethiopia's Tigray region. The situation is exacerbated by recent factional fighting in northern Ethiopia, raising concerns about a potential return to civil war and the possibility of drawing Eritrea into a broader regional conflict. The situation remains precarious, with analysts warning that Ethiopia's internal instability, coupled with its strained relationship with Eritrea, could escalate into a broader regional conflict. The international community continues to monitor developments closely, urging both nations to engage in dialogue to prevent further escalation. Ethiopia's renewed interest in accessing the Red Sea, particularly through Eritrea's port of Assab, has elicited varied reactions from regional and global powers, reflecting the complex geopolitical landscape of the Horn of Africa. Egypt has been closely monitoring Ethiopia's maritime ambitions, especially in light of existing tensions over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Cairo perceives Addis Ababa's desire for Red Sea access as a potential shift in regional power dynamics, which could impact Egypt's strategic interests. In response, Egypt has strengthened its diplomatic and security ties with Eritrea, including signing a security pact to counterbalance Ethiopia's moves. Somalia's stance is influenced by its own territorial integrity concerns, particularly regarding Somaliland's quest for independence. Ethiopia's engagement with Somaliland to develop port facilities has been met with apprehension by Mogadishu, fearing it might embolden separatist sentiments. Consequently, Somalia has sought alliances with Eritrea and Egypt to counter Ethiopia's regional aspirations. Now, a day's Saudi Arabia has shown strategic interest in Eritrea's Assab port, viewing it as a pivotal asset for enhancing its Red Sea trade routes. The kingdom's investments in Assab align with its Vision 2030 economic diversification plan, aiming to bolster infrastructure and strengthen regional partnerships. However, Ethiopia's assertive claims over Assab have complicated these investments, prompting Riyadh to adopt a cautious approach to maintain regional stability. World superpowers such as America and Russia also have significant geopolitical interests in the region. The United States has expressed concern over escalating tensions between Ethiopia and Eritrea, emphasizing the need for diplomatic resolutions to prevent further destabilization. Washington continues to monitor the situation, advocating for dialogue and cooperation among Horn of Africa nations to ensure peace and security. Reports suggest that Russia has been using Assab for military and logistical purposes, with some speculating that it could serve as a base for Russian naval vessels operating in the Red Sea. This development has heightened fears among Western powers and regional neighbors about Russia's growing influence in the Horn of Africa, adding another layer of complexity to the already tense political landscape. Russia's involvement in Assab port is part of its broader strategy to strengthen its military and economic ties with countries across Africa. With all the geopolitical interests of these countries, can Ethiopia gain access to Assab? One thing is certain, no country in the world needs Assab as much as Ethiopia does. But do you think Ethiopia can secure the port through peaceful means, or will it come to war? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you liked the video and want to learn more about our world, don't forget to subscribe.